Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful Monday evening. Always the most gratitude for all you guys who are watching the show. Um, Again, it is an absolute pleasure to get to do this every single day with you guys. It makes it worth it all the time. And I am so thrilled. It's the start of another week. So, guys, let's get all the particular stuff out of the way, like always. So, if you're watching us for the first time this evening, we are streaming live on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can check us out there on our channel, and that is at www.youtube.com/the letter C /made from scratch broadcast on YouTube. Do us a favor, if you're watching there, drop it down in the comments that you're watching, and then hit the like and subscribe button. We're always trying to build our viewership there, and then hit the notification bell. It'll let you know every time that we schedule a new live, or we do go live, or we drop new content on the channel. So guys, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. And again, hit the like and subscribe button. Then we're also streaming on Facebook, so you can check us out on our Facebook page. And that is a little bit different, but it's at www.facebook.com/made from scratch podcast. A little bit different on our Facebook page. Hit the like button. It'll also send you reminders whenever we do schedule a new live, or whenever we do go live on our Facebook page. Same thing for my Facebook profile. So if you're connected with me on either one, you will get a reminder that we're going live, and you're probably watching this now. So do us a favor, drop it down in the comments. Let us know what you think. I appreciate it all the time. Then we're also streaming live on Twitter, and that is our Twitter handle at MFSB Live on Twitter. So if you're watching there, do us a favor, retweet it, follow us. We'd appreciate all the help we can get on Twitter. We're always trying to build our followership there on Twitter. And then we're also streaming live on LinkedIn, guys. So if you're connected with me on LinkedIn Live, we are streaming there as well. So do us a favor and follow along on LinkedIn and drop it down in the comments like we usually do. So, and then you can check us out again on our website, and that's at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. That's the website. You can go there and check us out. And again, thank you so much, guys, if you're watching along for the evening. So let's get everything going out of the way, guys. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about before I bring in this my co-host is just want to extend a big thank you out to a lot of people who have connected with me over the weekend, who send me very beautiful, wonderful, kind messages, guys. You make it worth the while all the time. Again, and I wish I could share all the wonderful things that everybody has told me or sent me messages. Again, all I can do is express all the gratitude for everyone who's helped me along on this journey and who continues to help me along as well. So, guys, thank you so much. Oh, you know what? I forgot. We are streaming on Instagram too. So if you're watching on Instagram, you can check us out there. We are actually streaming live a little bit differently. We're trying it a different way. And oh, thank you. There's my aunt. Thank you so much. And then Deb Beecham. Guys, connect with Deb. She's super awesome. If you do not know, Deb, again, made the process of setting everything up with my guest on Saturday. So if you haven't seen that episode, I had Judge Kathy Schrader on. It was a wonderful conversation. Pleasant woman. I mean, it was an absolute joy to have a conversation with her. So Deb set all that up, and Deb's a wonderful person. So thank you, Deb, so much for doing that. And, just again, for the opportunity, it was such a blast. And then, going forward, this was a show where I wanted to talk a little bit about reflection a little bit. I always do this after about every 25 episodes. So Saturday was episode 75. This is episode 76. And I did the weekend to do a little bit of reevaluation on what I've been doing with the show and some of the things that I've really enjoyed doing here, and in some of the things that and in some of the things that I yeah, that's awesome. That doesn't happen very often, guys. So that's my wife who's actually commenting. She's telling me, "I want you to change your picture." Thank you, baby. Anyway, it was just about reflecting over the weekend and some of the things that this show has offered me with opportunities to meet new people, connect with new friends, build a lot of new relationships. So that was one of the best things that I've had so far. And there's a few things that I had to reevaluate uh, with my again, and like this guy right here. If you don't know who that is, that's Brian Schulman, guys. He's the godfather of LinkedIn. He was on my show. We did a 2-hour show together. He was on the other night with our roundtable. Um, Brian is, man, I can't say enough words to express all the gratitude for Brian because he's been nothing but helpful. And man, he puts out all the good vibes. So if you're not connected with Brian, get connected with him on LinkedIn. Super, super awesome person, and he's been very supportive of me along this journey. So thank him so much. I do appreciate that. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring into the show the official, unofficial co-host of the Made from Scratch broadcast, Mike Padurano. He's been on here a couple of times now. I only call him the unofficial because I have to call Poo Poo my Pudding, my dog. He's the actual official co-host of the show because he's always with me. But Mike's the unofficial. So
I mean, come on, Gabe and the Poo Poo Show makes a lot of sense. I mean, let's run with this. And your wife is on Facebook watching so that she remembers what you look like because you're always so damn busy working. So, I mean, let's not beat around the bush or kid here, right? Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, Gabe. I mean, I love what you're doing. I love helping you. I love being around, and I try to help whoever I can. And yes, Brian Shulman is a monster of a human being in his smaller stature. He's superhuman. He really is. He's all heart, and it's just amazing. And there goes Russ. Russ is going too, huh? He's on. Is that Twitter? Is that what that little thing is?
Yeah. That's
man.
He's actually watching on Periscope. So we got Periscope in the house tonight, working in full effect. That's awesome.
That's cheating. Going straight to the website. I mean, geez.
And my wife,
gotta be like the rest of us. That's
right. My wife is agreeing with you, Mike. Oh God.
Oh boy, we're in trouble already. Here we go. Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta. Oh boy. Back out of that one now.
That's all right.
I gotta say, man, it's been an unbelievable weekend. It really has.
It has, right? And one of the things that we wanted to talk about, of course, coming on here was just about the events that we were Friday. So, guys, if you have not watched the show, go back and you can check it out on the YouTube channel. We had our 4-hour roundtable on Friday evening, and that was quite a oh my gosh, that's gonna be fun to deal with.
Oh yeah, I'm in trouble now. Okay.
So we had our roundtable Friday evening, and that was quite the event. Just because there were so many different diverse personalities on there, but again, that was the whole purpose going into it, was just to try to find diverse voices, diverse individuals, to bring on here and start a discussion. So for what it was, and to Mike's credit, he helped me put that together very quickly. I mean, it was a spur of the moment. Hey, let's do this. Bang, 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 bang. And for me, luckily, I had nobody scheduled for Friday. I had already thought about doing an open discussion sort of thing. So we threw everything together. We got the guests. We got people to connect. And then, bam, we just went from there. And, that was awesome for just doing it on such short notice. And then again, the conversation that came out of it was even more important, because that to me is what was the whole thing that we wanted to do, was find perspective from so many different people. And I mean, even now, I'll watch some of the news and some of the things going on here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and they're starting to institute a lot of things now, because all the dialogue that people are getting so they're getting so tired of it, and they want the open discussions. They want all these things. One of the things that they've broached at this point has been, of course, defunding the police. That's a whole different topic. It is pretty scary to think about, but I think that there's some things that need to be done, especially what they were talking about the hiring process, and preventing some of these things happening before officers come in here. And then they're even talking about taking away immunities for some police officers in some of these situations, because they have I think there's a certain number of people. I mean, certain numbers that a police officer can get as far as certain immunities in things that happen that are reported and that sort of thing. So they're talking about taking that away here in Dallas. And they're also, again, what I was talking about was trying to put some kind of either counseling or some kind of psychological testing and that sort of thing into the process. So they're talking about actually doing this now. And these are steps, guys. This is what we were talking about. These are some of the things that needed to be done. And because of everybody raising their voices, again, everybody opening the dialogue, these are steps in the right directions. Now, it's one thing to talk about. It's another thing to start instituting these things, which is the next step. And again, I don't think going to that fact of defunding the police is one thing, but I think
that's a little extreme.
It is.
I mean, removing the police force does not seem like it would be a great idea to control situations out of control.
Yeah.
Psychological testing that probably should have been there in the first place. I mean, if I've got to take a psych eval to be a cashier at a grocery store, I probably should do one to hold a gun and shoot it at people. Now, that's just a thought process that I'm having here. At the end of the day, disbanding police is not the answer. Giving martial law and putting it in federal government's hands, not the answer. We need real solutions, real answers, real conversations. I mean, this is just knee-jerk reactions and extremes all over the place.
Yeah.
The extremes have to calm down, right? This is bigger than just George Floyd. This is bigger than, I'm bad with names, right? Breonna and any of these other people that unfortunately have gone through these issues, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is bigger than one person. This is a systematic issue that's been here, for hundreds of years. And it's great to have open dialogue conversations. But at the same time, if you're not bringing together a diverse group of people, then what are you wasting your time for?
Exactly.
If you're going to bring together all of one culture or all of one, grouping, and I don't know, let's say a tour comes to town, music, and outside that ethnicity or outside of that group comes to town, what's going to happen? I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure when you're looking at one of anything, right?
Yeah.
You can't blame all the police for the bad apples. You can't blame all of anything for one thing, right?
No. And again, I agree with you. I think that's taking it a little extreme. Now, looking at the way funding is spent in some of these things is something that should be looked at.
Was it not looked at before? I'm confused.
Not to the point. Not to the point where you would think that, hey, if it was stamped into the city budget, right? So if there were things like certain tactical training, certain things that were put in the budgets, weapons and munition training and all these things that go into it, right? That are part of what they spend, especially to train these police officers. I think that there's certain ways that you can still use some of that budget to kind of institute sort of what we're talking about with psychological training or behavioral training, behavioral therapy, things that can happen that that officers might have to deal with, like PTSD out in the field. These are things that really need to be looked at, because I understand the stress of the job.
But I also think that these are things that always should have been looked at, and I don't understand why they haven't been in the past.
Because it was just a rubber stamp oversight saying, hey, what does the city budget look like? So when I do city budgets and they laid it out, the city manager I'm pretty sure does not have the time to go through the whole budget looking at what is being spent on this and this and this and this and this and this.
Isn't that their job? That's what I don't understand.
It usually is.
I mean, I don't know. See, I'm not going to let this go. I mean, I don't understand. You have one job, which is the oversight. If you're oversight, you need to oversee something, because if you're getting paid and people are dying for no reason, white, black, purple, doesn't matter what it is, then something's wrong. And maybe, you don't understand what oversight means, right? and I don't want to get carried away on this, because that's not the only issue, right?
It's not.
It's a systemic issue. This is an issue of a system that was created a long time ago. The population, the people, society has changed so much, and the system never changed, right? It's like our roads, our bridges, our sewer systems. None of those things have been upgraded for 50 years, 100 years. How do you expect these things to continue to, survive, right? And those are bigger issues also. But all of our systems need to grow up. Like, it's time to evolve on a level. And this is just one system that's a major one, right? And the racism and the systemic racism is a major issue. And like you said, Friday, outside of situations with my children, was one of the most enlightening experiences I've ever been a part of in my life. Yeah. Bringing together the group of diverse people and having the hard conversation was really different, right? And I got to be honest, again, I'll say it again like I did Friday, being a 41-year-old white male having this conversation about racism, it's one of the most difficult conversations for anybody. And those are conversations I would run from, right? Yeah. Deb, that's one of the longest comments I ever seen, and it's blocking half. I love you for it.
So here's the thing. So it's saying, Deb is saying, there's a line item in law enforcement for a national certification program that looks good on websites, but it doesn't actually catch and deal with problems like off-balance officers or lack of training. That's one example. Let's talk offline, of course, Mike. And that's why it says she's raising capital for decisional support systems, because again, it's like anything, Mike. You see how the school systems have so many flaws, right? And yet they spend time to do budgets. They spend time to have meetings with council meetings, to talk with the school board members, all these other things, and yet things still fall through the hole. It's the same thing with city governments. That's where a lot of the local governments fail, because they don't go into the item details and looking at these sort of things. It can be scary, because some of these things, I'm telling you, have been done for years, so they get rubber stamped. It's okay, the budget looks a little bit different, but let's not go line item for line item. Here we go, check off on it, and let's go to the next item. Let's go for infrastructure. What's going for here? Let's go for zoning, all these things that they go through. I mean, and it's just such an important thing, but yet there's so much oversight, it gets past them. And I think now it's something that's being brought to light.
But okay, so let's look at law enforcement as one component of this, right? Yeah. If everything else around systemic racism was perfect, I would say let's focus on that, right? Yeah. But that's not the issue. I mean, it's not the only issue. It is part of the issue. This isn't going to fit on your head, child. Wearing a balloon on your head or a rubber ball on your head is not going to work, especially when I'm live. Anyway, so. Here's an issue, right? The issue is being silent is an issue. Not saying anything, and the difference between I'm not a racist versus anti-racism, which I learned Friday, right? Yeah. Is a very big difference. And I always thought I wasn't racist, right? Like I said, I was always colorblind. I never noticed races, religions, like none of that stuff ever bothered me. I never even considered it when I was talking to people. Like it just never entered my mind. But by doing that, it also made me desensitized to major issues. And it also, rather than being colorblind, I need to thrive in unique differences and understand the cultural differences and respect the cultural differences and want to embrace them, right? It's there. I did that as a kid too. I'm sorry, David. Maybe that's why we have the same hairline. But anyway, you know, it's one of those things, right? Like there's so many sides of this puzzle. The only one I think we can focus on today, the only one that we can really have an impact, is educating people on the different perspectives and different sides of the conversation.
Yes.
And force that hard conversation, right? Because nobody wants to really have it, especially in a public forum. So, you know, that's unique, right? We're pushing limits, and we are truly focused on getting a diverse group. Yeah. Like we're literally just pushing people out different episodes just so that we make sure that we can represent as many groups as possible so that we really help the circumstance in the situation.
Yeah, because here's the problem. Like we talked about earlier, we live in our American bubble that thinks that's what racism is. Racism goes beyond borders. It goes globally. I mean, there's people that have to, again, we've had people on, I've talked to people where they'll tell you about what they dealt with is with racism in other countries. Just because, again, things are different. I mean, they went through the same thing in South Africa. They went through the same thing with apartheid. Yeah. It wasn't the fact that it was, the American version of it. It was just racism straight up. There was no other way to put it. So, and again, just because it ended doesn't mean it went away. It's still there. A lot of these are still here. A lot of these different types of issues in other countries where racism is a thing. I mean, even in a lot of the Arab countries, Muslims hate Shiites. Kurds hate. You know, it's still there's still that point of racism about it. So it doesn't matter if it's here in America, if it's in Canada, if it's in whatever country that you're looking at, they're still there. It's not just a local problem. It's not a state problem, and it's not our government problem. It's a world problem. And, you know, people still don't understand the magnitude of how that we have to start addressing a lot of these issues, just going beyond what we think that happens here in our little burg here in this town or that town. We literally have to grow ourselves, and we actually have to find these again. And like I was mentioning to the judge, when it was such an uproar, just for an example, I told her, just for like when it was an uproar about bailing out all these big companies and spending all these monies, people started creating all these town halls because, oh my God, we have to talk about this. We got to get this out of there. What is going on? I said, okay, now, same thing, different subject. Where are all these people now going, hey, let's get town halls together to start talking about racism and the things that can be created. If I'm not doing
it's a scary conversation.
It is,
because if you have your opinion, people are scared to lose business. People are scared to lose friends. People are scared to, lose anything that they've worked for, right? People are terrified to have their own unique opinion on the circumstance. There's many people that would not have the conversation that we had Friday. There's just not. Yeah. And it's sad because these are conversations that have to happen. It's not an option, right? We can't use ignorance as bliss forever, right? We need to overcome that. We need to be able to have these hard conversations. We need to be able to push the edge on those. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. I mean, there was a few times that I think everybody was uncomfortable in that conversation. but everyone on there came out learning something.
But and again, here's the thing: if you don't say something, history has taught us: if you don't say something, if you let it go away, if you let it bypass, it's only going to grow. And if anybody needs an example, I tell them go back into 1940 Germany, and when he talks about appeasement, and people saying, "Oh, well, he's just taking back the lands that is his," and I'm talking about, if you don't study history, folks, that was Adolf Hitler.
Well, it goes back a little further, right? When he overthrew the original party.
Yes.
Because he was an inspirational speaker, right? He was one of the best inspirational speakers of his time, and he was able to motivate a country to overthrow what they existing had, and people got behind it. And for whatever reason, whatever triggered it, whatever his real intentions were, obviously we know the end result. But I don't think that's where he started.
No,
I feel like he might have had good intentions in the beginning, but that definitely changed. Obviously,
yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing, though. It's the ignorance is bliss. It really is.
And everybody would be quiet and said, "Okay, let's appease him so he doesn't get angry." Blah blah blah. And then if that keeps growing, that's the sort of things that can happen. It ended up in a world war.
To say the least. To say the least, right? The least. World War was the least of what happened.
Happened. So many, right. And again, and it was a genocide created towards one sort of race. That's it.
Right.
Sort of people. Yeah. And it's the same thing. So if you let it and you ignore it and you let it fester something else, those are the type of things that can grow out of something like that. And if you think it can't happen again, you're fooling yourself. You're literally fooling yourself if you think it can't happen again. If enough people don't say something and do something at the right time when they have the opportunity to do that, it can happen again. I mean, how did we get the president that we have?
Everybody wants change. Everybody wants change. They don't really look at what the change is.
Exactly. And if you don't pay attention to these things, if you don't watch what they're saying and listen carefully to what they're talking about. Again, don't listen to the platitudes and the things that make America great again. That was the thing. But listen to the underlying tones. Listen to the things that he says. He talks about subliminally. That's how they get their things past certain people. And once it gets subliminally into the mind, people start believing it so much that's the rhetoric that they go out and spit to other people. And it's insane that can happen, but it can happen. I'm telling you, if you don't pay attention to what's going on, if you don't do the things that you need to do. So again, folks, if you don't go out and vote because you think your vote doesn't count, this ought to be a lesson to you. There's your lesson. And it's going to happen again if you don't go out and do it again.
Okay, but let's take a step back from that, right? Because what matters more in circumstances like this, as much as I hate to say it, is the local government, the judges, the police sheriffs, your senators, your congressmen. Those are the people that really matter in this situation. The councilmen, it's the local politics that people don't pay attention to. It reminds me, like me and you actually talked about it, I think, over the weekend, the distinguished gentleman. Like, Eddie Murphy comes in, he's a black guy, he doesn't post pictures on the billboards, but he gets, voted in under the same name as the guy before.
Yeah, so nobody pays attention. He just goes under the same name that he has. People just go to the votes and say, hey, they either vote. Oh, I've been voting for him for the last five terms. I'm going to vote for him again. I know this, blah, blah, blah. And then, boom, they get shocked to find out.
Although him duck hunting with the machine gun was great. Like that was priceless, right? Like that's just comical. But I mean, that's really the world that we live in. We live with our head in a bubble or head in the sand. Yeah. Ignorance is bliss. Let's just run with it.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, right? And that's why I think these roundtables are so important. There's not a political side. There's not a political agenda. It's not on one of the media outlets that just has one side or the other. Yeah. Exactly. This is individual's truth.
Yeah.
And you can't beat. No, I mean you can't beat individual's truth. Individual's truth is the reality, right? Because it doesn't matter if you don't agree with their opinion or their perspective. It's their perspective, and you need to respect that. And then once you know all the sides' perspectives, That's how you can start working towards solutions, because you know all the angles. Until then, there's nothing that you can do about it. Nothing's going to change if you don't look at anybody else's angle.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, here comes Hunger Games, and here comes, Maze Runner, and, whatever other movie you want to think about, right? Like, we're falling into this because we're choosing to be. Or worse, Purge. I mean, who knows? Why wouldn't that happen at this point?
Oh, it's scary. It's scary to think of the concepts that they come up with, but yet it's not too far from reality in some point. And again, I hope that by opening these channels and doing these sort of things, that we do bring. I want to bring just a little bit of focus and light on what's really being what we're really trying to do, and try not to keep those channels and that level of discussion going past just the initial shock and initial anger. See, because that's always been part of you get that started, you get that fire going, right? And then as the flames start to go down and down and down, all goes down to just a tinder, and then it's just a smolder until something else comes along that throws gasoline back on the fire. My thing is to keep those channels open and keep them out there so that people, people keep it on their mind whenever you discuss these things with people who have opinions, people who have either influence or leadership. I think that's kind of important. That's why I said when I had the conversation with the judge on Saturday, that was one of the most refreshing conversations that I had, because I knew that was somebody that actually had impact.
Yes.
And that's what was important to me, is that the fact that what she was saying and what she was meaning, and then on top of the fact that she can actually institute impact in people's lives by doing it. And that's what, to me, what was the most interesting thing and most refreshing idea, that hearing her say what she does whenever she's in court, what she was doing. That's why I said, you know what, she's such a wonderful person. I love what she's talking about. And I told her, when you get reelected, I will be one of your biggest cheerleaders, even though I don't even live in Georgia. I wouldn't. You
can always just drive there. I'm sure they take the extra vote.
Yeah, right. But again, but I think everybody has that opportunity to go out and become one of these people of impact. So if you run for your local city council, if you run for a local position in your small town, it's worth the shot to at least go out and try to make change if you really want to do it. I mean, it's pretty. I know. My brother, and my uncle.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, here's a tip. If you're going to run for council, make sure that, when it says oversight, read the damn numbers. Actually pay attention to them, right? Like, if there's a budget in there that, says, donuts instead of classes, maybe you should switch those two numbers. But there's just, look, and I don't mean to harp on the law enforcement, and it's really not, it's not everybody. It's just not.
It's not.
But they're taking the heat because it was one of their own, right?
Yeah.
And there is so many good police officers. There is so many good that are actually quitting their jobs because they don't believe in it because of this happened. There's a deputy sheriff in Fargo. Is that the article I sent you? Fargo, North Dakota?
Yeah, Fargo, North Dakota.
And he, after 32 years, I think, he resigned because he wanted to go march, and he didn't want to, he can't stand for it. He just can't stand for it anymore. There's another officer that's on TikTok that I follow that, has 10 years in, and he's walking away from it because he can't deal with what's going on. I can't imagine going through that situation, right? Like being somebody in law enforcement and really caring, being one who's dedicated my whole life to it, but then not being allowed to speak out against it either, right? And then you're taking away somebody's voice, and you're taking away what means most to them, which is their individualism, and you're removing that. Donuts are important. I love you, David. I bet you don't eat them either, David. I mean, kid me cook.
Come on,
Unless he
Dave.
probably has a magical. He probably has like a magical celery donut or something.
Right.
You know, Homer Simpson would run the other way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's low sugar, low carb, low everything. There's no taste.
Share the link, David. Share the recipe link.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, these conversations have to happen. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we had the last one. And I'm glad we're going to be doing it in perpetuity because I feel like it has to happen. No matter what happens in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, it needs to happen. These conversations have to happen.
And again, you know, if you say that you wanted to go out and make a difference, if you wanted to go out and build a voice, right? These are ways that I've been telling people who are connecting with me who say, I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. And I mentioned to them, hey, have you thought about doing your own? Because if you have the opportunity, it is so simple. Turn on your phone, go on live, open your mouth, and start talking. That's how you're going to start building community and conversations. And again, what I'm doing is no different that nobody else can do. So I'm telling everybody and anybody who's been reaching out to me, open your mouth. That's not to say that in that towards that way, but that's the best thing you can do right now is to open your mouth and talk and say.
I have nothing to say, and look at me, I can't shut up. So,
yeah.
I mean, hey, let's see.
Oh, David.
Yes, that's truth also, and that hurts, and it sucks, and it is. I'm pretty sure that people on all sides know that stuff needs to change, right? And again, you know, that's where. Thanks, Deb. You know, it's one of those things, right? I mean, we all know what the issues are, but now it's time to discuss them because the only way you're coming to solutions is by discussing them. And without the conversations, nothing ever changes. No. You can have all the protests, you can have all the peaceful stuff. I mean, you can even have the riots and everything else, and nothing will change.
I mean, you know this from experience. I mean, you're sitting here trying to change the educational system, right? For years. So
not years. I mean,
well, you know,
if you count when I was in high school, I tried to change it then too. I just don't think they just didn't really respect that thought.
Yeah, but you go and you've seen the holes, you've seen a lot of the flaws. Yes. And it's the same sort of thing. If you don't keep pushing to make that an issue, it goes away. People just think, okay, out of sight, out of mind. It's A-okay. Everything's fine. And it's not. It's not until the next glaring issue opens up and people pay attention to it. And I'm like you. I think that we have to keep these things going over and over and over again. It's just like I do on my regular show. I have to beat people over the head with positive energy every day.
Yeah.
I did my own little mathematical equation in my head. I say it figures you have to have at least 4 hours of positive work and reinforcement to equal a half hour of negative. It's that fast. A negative energy, a negative something can change the whole mindset of your day. So you essentially have
it sucks everything out of you. It's like a black hole that just like is an abyss that literally just drains it all out of you.
And again, you have to, and that's what I tell everybody. It's work to stay positive. I know it sounds like, but it's work. But so is anything if you really want it. So my wife says she's sending my co-host out. Good, send my.
Oh, here comes Poo Poo. Bring him on, Poo Poo.
Bring him on. So, David.
Sure, David. Sure.
David, you're such.
I didn't get samples of the donuts, David. Yeah. I noticed that. I didn't get samples of those.
Yeah. But you know, I figured that because I know that I do a lot of positive work in my own mind every day. It starts when I get up in the morning. It starts with me listening to motivational speakers. It listens to affirmation. It means part of me doing small bits of prayer, meditation, that sort of thing, because I got to get in a good mindset. And once I get in that mind position and everything, I feel very strong, and I can take bad news at that point. And I can work with it, get past it, and then move on to the next thing. Um, because again, I've put in the work for it. I mean, can you imagine getting up and that's the first thing that happens in your day? Um, you go outside, your car's stolen. What do? Your day's whatever. So if you don't get in that mindset as soon as you guys are working and you go get up, okay, I'm in the mindset in the shower, getting ready to go to work before I go to work. Start saying a little bit of free prayers, free affirmations, get everything in my mind going, get my mind rocking. And at that point, okay, cool. I'm ready to attack the day. But you know, it wasn't always like this for me. I had to develop myself this way, or else I always used to have my head in my hands and going, what am I doing wrong? What the heck is what do I keep doing? So that's why when I go back and read some of the things that I journal about, I read back in that, and I thank God I'm not that person anymore. I learned a lot from those days, and as I go forward, I know that I have to keep pushing because that's a steady reminder. There's nothing nobody else that's nobody else's words but my own. So I read them and I go, okay, I know what it's like to still be in that state of mind, and I'm not going back there. So yes, I still have to put in the work. Yes, I still have to do a lot of things to keep myself this way. But again, you have the ability to control your own happiness, no matter what your situation is. And even if you, even with dealing with racism, right? I know now that if somebody comes at me a certain way, calling me names, calling me every derogatory name that they possibly can, it'll go over that, over my head. Thank you so much. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what my reality is. And to me, that's just about all your insecurities that you're screaming at me. So that's fine with me.
It's again, right? That goes back to Gary Vee. If there's a hater, whether it's in real life or whether it's online, whether it's a troll, their amount of pain that they're going through to be able to. I didn't taste it yet. Leave me alone about the coffee. I'll get to it, David. I promise. If send donuts and then I'll taste the coffee.
There you go, David.
Look, I mean, it's if they're that miserable that they're willing to take their time out to put hate on you, then you've got to feel bad for them, and you've got to be empathetic, because any other way it's going to drive you nuts, right? And if you let those thoughts in your head, she's still walking around with her corn dog stick. Sorry about that. But at the end of the day, look, I'm not happy every day. I'm not happy all day. I have my up times, my down times, my up moments, my down moments. And then I have when, my thyroid wants to shut down, and that's a whole different story. But like on a normal basis, I'm a pretty happy person and pretty optimistic. I'm also too stubborn to give up, right? Like that's a real big part. I am way too stubborn to give up. I just don't believe that everybody else is right and I'm wrong. Like I will push through anything and make it happen. The education thing, I'm never giving up until it works. It's not going to happen. I'll keep reinventing it until it works. I'll keep reinventing it until it falls in place. We'll adapt, we'll change, we'll cultivate, we'll learn, and we'll just reapproach it again, right? Because it needs to change. These conversations need to happen. Right now, we're starting with racism because it motivated me so much that it actually got me live. That's how much it motivated me, right? Like it got me live. So that tells you how much it motivated me.
That's right. You see?
It put me on that position to where I wanted to do this with you. And I don't want to do this, but it needs to happen. And I'm too stubborn not to.
Right? There you go.
And by the way, the world can thank Gary Vee for me doing this, because something about the way that he put that post up that day, that silence is part of the problem and sharing your voice is suffocating hate. And until I heard that, I had no motivation to, I was going to do my norm, which is, it's horrible, it's wrong, but I'm not, what can I do to change it? And truth of the matter is, I can do something to change it, and I'm going to do something to change it, and we are doing that.
Yeah. And again, what did he say? David said,
Oh, what that's it. That was a long one too.
no, David said, I will bring them to you. Oh, he said he'll bring them to you. So he'll bring you donuts.
Come on, man. I need company. I'm bored here in the middle of nowhere.
And it says, yeah, thank you, Kenneth. Yeah, stubbornness is beautiful. That's what David's saying. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Put me in Mrs. America then.
Yeah. What's your talent? What's your talent?
Seriously, at the end of the day, when you find something that moves you and passionate, you just got to push forward. No matter what's in your way, no matter what the obstacle is, this is a problem that needs to change. It's been happening for too long. And the reality is Black African Americans cannot change it alone. They need a unified front to change this. They need all sides of this conversation to come to the table to really make it change.
Yeah. That's her hashtag. So that's
any dude. I love it.
I love that too. So
she's a superhero.
If you don't follow it, hit the hashtag Annie too.
She is a superhero, and I want everybody out there right now to go find her YouTube interview with Jason over the weekend. That was Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And make sure you watch it. It was one of the most vulnerable, amazing interviews I've ever seen in my life with anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, Fridays was great for what it was also, so don't get me wrong, but this on a one-on-one interview about personal life and change and going through what you're doing, it was just amazing. So, I feel like you need to go watch it. You just have to. She's an amazing human being.
Yeah, and again, by the way, she's my podcast partner. Everybody, just
keep bragging. You're good. You're good. I gotta find my coffee.
You're right. So but one of the
froze. Am I frozen?
No, I froze up for a minute. You're moving again, but what we're talking about is the fact that if we keep this going, if we keep pushing this to the point where I think it can, where I'm hoping that it goes, it'll become something really special. Because again, I think that so many people, they've always had the voice. They've always wanted to do these things. They just didn't know how.
So here's what I'm going to tell you, Mr. Optimistic. Take if out of that sentence and change it to when.
When.
Change it to when.
Yeah.
There is no if, because I'm not letting you stop until when. We're changing this. I'm not kidding. I'll be 100. I'll be alive in a robot, 120 years old, still pushing this if I have to. I don't give up that easy. I don't care what it is.
If you're hearing that right now, guys, that's my official podcast.
That's poo poo.
That's outside of my studio, who's out here barking right now. But again, the story behind that one is my daughter named him that. They go, yeah, drop the if and buts. You're right. Yeah. So, oh yeah.
It's just a perspective thing, right? I feel like Annie was whispering in my head for that one, to be honest with you.
She probably was.
Probably.
She's helped me keep me in check for a lot of things. So I'm always grateful for her. She's between you and her, I don't really have much line to stray either left or right. So I'm always.
There you go. There you go.
I got someone to keep me on the straight and narrow. And again, yeah, Russ, that is true. He is he's the time studio alarm. So he so.
Oh man, poo poo something else. I'll tell you. If you name your next dog Diarrhea, we're gonna have issues.
Oh my gosh, I don't think so.
I'm just saying.
I got 4 already, and I'm ready. If one of them leaves, those numbers are just going to dwindle.
Wait, you have 4 kids and 4 dogs?
Yes, I have 4 kids, 4 dogs, 2 jobs, 1 wife, 2 podcasts. So my life gets complicated by the minute, and I love it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But yeah, it is.
Your wife is a saint. We've got to make her for sainthood.
something.
I'm telling you, she's a superhero.
Yeah, and again, that's what I tell everybody. I've been blessed, very, very, very blessed in life, just because of the people who've landed in my life, and me not even really searching for a lot of these folks. These folks, a lot of these folks found me. Well, kind of lost Mike there, but oh well. So yes, everybody, that's one of the things that there he is back in full force. So
Yeah, it was completely frozen and just threw me out. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, well, Russ, it's live video, so I'm pretty sure you know about live video because Russ, if this is my 76.
Russ does live videos? I didn't know that.
Yes, so
Russ, you do live videos, Russ?
Yeah, so if you guys don't know what the pirate broadcast is, it's a hashtag there. Mr. Russ Johns, he said, oh yeah. Yeah, now and then he does. So
he means literally now and then, like literally every other hour or two. So he's always online.
Yes, he's always. And you know what's if I'm at 76, so he's about 100 episodes in front of me. So he's got a longer. And then on top of that, he's been doing this thing called 2-minute tips that he did for oh my gosh. He's got so much content. He's put so much stuff out there. He was the reason why I hopped into the chair. So if anybody's mistaken and you don't know who that my wife is, yeah, keep it coming, boys.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to make a trip through Dallas on the way home. It's not that far out of the way. I mean.
So again, it is it is wonderful that so many these people have manifested. This is literally how it happened. People have manifested. The right people have manifested themselves into my lives, and it all started with just saying a hello and reaching out to somebody. And again, this is why I tell so many people, if you have not stepping out of the boundaries of what you're used to, get on any social media, connect with somebody, say hello, and you'll never know what happens from there. Again, we had an instant connection when we met, and that's where things kind of just took off for us. And it's kind of kept going as long as we've been both pushing ourselves on either on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and all these other locations. And then just for me, one of the best things that I've been blessed to do is, Deb, awesome. Love that.
I will, Deb. I'll go through Atlanta. Yeah. I'm not going through Philadelphia, David. Sorry.
Arcot. Thank you, Arcot. Arcot, if you're not connected with him, he's a big time. He does a lot of things for, I think, the educational stuff that he does for his out in, my mind is going blank right now. I'm trying to,
he's 10 hours ahead, so
yeah,
he's got to be in India.
So that's exactly. That's where, Arcot, and he was a regular that I met on Rust, and he's the same sort of deal. He's doing a lot of work to help change the systems over there in the way that their education systems are being created, and the things that he's doing. He's one of those, again, that works a lot in the background and does a lot of interesting things. So I'm always connected to Arcot. That's why. David says, why not? Why won't you come through Philly?
Giants fan. Sorry, bud. I can handle the Cowboys because they have no chance of winning. I can handle the Cowboys because they have no chance of winning anyway. But as far as I won't go through Philly.
Yeah, so he's got 10,000. He's got 1,054 members in India on Telegram. So that's what he does. He's a worker, and
that would give me a headache.
David.
Brotherly love.
I feel. You know what?
David, for Giants fans. David, we're Cowboys fans.
David, you're awesome. Annie, you're awesome. but they're both Philadelphia fans, so that's the one thing where I think we stray a little bit.
They can meet me in Pittsburgh.
I can. So one of the things that one of the things that I always say is, I can tolerate the Giants. I can tolerate the Redskins. I just can't tolerate the Eagles. I'm sorry. There's just something about
okay. Look,
Philadelphia.
Apparently, Eli Manning and the Giants only played good against Tom Brady. So everybody in turn loves the Giants because they lose to everyone else. But that definitely changed the reality. And yes, dear, I hear you. It's hard not to hear you. Half the internet world hears you.
Oh, so he says that's a whole nother aspect that I haven't crossed yet with Annie yet, because she's an Eagles fan, and now I know that David is as well. My brother-in-law is a Philly fan, and it's what I talk about. Anyway, I'm talking about sports when I should be talking.
What sports? I didn't know there was sports anymore.
Yeah.
Are there even sports?
Well, golf, if you count golf.
No, I don't actually. I was so horrible at golf. I was so bad. Oh gosh, it was so horrible. I don't have the patience for it. Now that I have 3 kids, I'd probably love to go sit outside for 12 hours getting 600 on a round of golf.
All right.
We're going now.
Also,
yeah, seriously.
That's always fun.
Put all 3 of them together in one golf cart and let the oldest drive. That could work out.
There you go. That could be tons of fun. So,
seriously.
What David? He's laughing at what again?
Golf, Giants, wherever else we just took this conversation.
Apparently, that's a whole nother topic. I could do a whole nother show just
on sports.
Just on sports. I could literally talk 3 hours of sports and not bat an eye, but I don't think I could. I don't think my wife would enjoy that.
No, she might draw the line in the sand on that one.
Yeah. I broke a table behind it. I don't golf. I think that's a lot of people, David. I don't think a lot of people golf. I don't golf.
Okay. So before we dig another hole here, right, and lose a whole other audience, let's ignore golf because it is a sport. It takes talent. It takes more patience than anything in the world, and I don't have it. So that doesn't work. So we'll move on from golf because I think we're going to dig a hole with that one.
Yeah, so let's just go back to all the wonderful things that we were just discussing.
Systematic racism, because that's so much more entertaining.
Yeah, if I start talking about never mind. I don't want to cross that bridge. So again, here we are. We're sitting here talking. But here's the best part about all this, Mike. Here's the most wonderful thing that we can take out of this whole conversation, right? Number one, we know that we've opened a door to discussion, right? That's one thing that I can take out of it. And then number two, I both can say confidently that we're not Eagles fans, and that's a great thing.
Yes, 100%.
So
100%.
Again, those are 2 wonderful things that I've taken out of this conversation, and I can sleep easy tonight knowing either one of those. So I don't know, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
No, tennis. No, not tennis either. No, that's another one. Wasn't very good at that one.
But one of the things that I'm really looking forward to with our next one is, we're actually kind of getting a better idea on how to format this, work it out a little bit. I think that was one of the. David says he's not happy. That looks like an angry face.
If I was an Eagle fan, I wouldn't be either.
Yeah.
You guys moved up to draft a quarterback. Sorry. Apparently, my 3-year-old pooped. In case anybody was wondering why.
Yeah.
Welcome to being live.
Yeah, that's what you get. But what I'm just excited about is the fact that we're getting we got the ball rolling, and that was what happened Friday night, and then we're going to keep the momentum rolling. It's going to happen on June 22nd. That's going to be Monday, June 22nd, folks. We will have our next 4-hour roundtable. We will discuss details a little bit later on, but for right now, we know that we will be having another one, and the discussions will be brought up the same way. We will open a lot of the dialogue. And again, we'll see what we can learn, because the first one was a really learning experience for both of us. And then the second one, of course, the second one will be even better, because again, we'll have the opportunity to learn from our first session and take it into the second session and see how we can magnify it and make it even a little bit, open for the audience and that sort of thing. Because I want to get somehow people to start rolling in questions. So I'm going to put that out there before we go live.
But also keep in mind, right? Because since we're going to be rotating out the majority of the people, it's always going to be different perspectives, and it's always going to be a little bit different, even if the questions are identical.
Yeah.
And we're always going to be bringing different pieces to the table.
Yeah.
That can really change things. And the more of these we have, the more perspectives we share, the more educational it is for everyone involved. I mean, this is a pure learning experience, and a pure loving and empathetic and compassion, and finding, rather than looking for ways to divide, let's find ways to unify. And that's really what these are about. It's about bringing together the different backgrounds and diversities to really find ways to unify, because this is not a problem that one group, one circumstance, one anything can solve on their own. It's got to be the whole picture. If we woke up tomorrow and the legal system was perfect, it still wouldn't fix everything else.
No, it wouldn't. It would just be only one part of the equation solved. You still have to figure out the rest of it. There's so many things. There's so many variables that you still have to look at. So yeah, Deb's, a lot of questions will come out of those. So yes, I'm going to look into those, Deb. I love that.
There's a whole bunch of books out there. I mean, Drew Barrymore put a list of books out there too. Yeah. Hey, it's Roz.
Roz Lowe. Roz, I've been wanting to get Roz on the show for so long. I want to ask her a couple of questions, and every time that I send her out a link or something, we start a conversation going, and then something happens. So I'm still going to.
So here's the solution: send her a live link right now. Just get her on. Yeah. Go ahead. Why not?
Yeah,
send her a live link. See if she'll do it. Come on, Roz.
Copy. Here goes. So if
it can't be that bad with us two on here. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Why not? Right. So here's the link.
As long as you're not an Eagle fan. If you're an Eagle fan, we need to reevaluate.
So there's a link, guys. If you see it in the comments, you can click on the link. And again, I will send it out to her personally on LinkedIn as well, so that she can see it and go, okay, there's a link. If you want to hop on, you are more than welcome to. This is what you get by doing live video. So you never know what you're going to get. So
the instigator.
I am. So if I'm determined, and here we go, Roslo, there you go. Link in the copy. There you go. It's out there now. So if I see her pop in, I'll pull her on, of course. She's saying, so she's saying you guys are great.
Go ahead. I will never doubt that for a second. Come on, Roz. What you got to lose?
Yeah. So if you're Russ Johns, if you're brave, click the link. I don't care. Either one.
I don't know. I don't think Russ has enough live experience that he should be on with us. I just don't think that he can handle it.
You don't think he would be able to handle being live on the camera?
I don't know. I don't think he's got it in him.
Right?
Just like Brian Schulman. You know, he's camera shy also. He's another one.
He's another one, right?
Where is our little brother?
So those guys, I always marvel at their ability to. Where do I find the link? It's on LinkedIn. I sent it into your message on LinkedIn.
Private messages. Come on, Roz. Let's go. I told you needed to get on with Gabriel. Now we're forcing you. Let's do it.
Well, David, you can't see it if it's on LinkedIn, so that's why I had to send it on. That's why I had to send it on LinkedIn. But watch this, David. If you're
David Pollock.
Yeah, David Pollock. So
yeah, I want to see a picture of these donuts he creates. Seriously, I'm curious.
You know, because again, you see them out there.
Private messages, Rose.
Yeah. So
direct messages, whatever they're called, private, direct, whatever.
On LinkedIn, there should be one that shows up on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, look in your private message tab. You will see a link that says click to jump on StreamYard, and then from there, if you see it, click it. It will pop you into the studio, and then from there, it's all up to me. And I'll just see.
So it's all downhill from there.
It's all she wrote from there, and ain't nothing else I can do about that. So,
welcome to Improv 101.
Again, this is what I do on.
Who is it?
No, that's not what it was. Crap.
Probably your wife. Like, get off now.
No, she usually doesn't really get on to me unless I'm like after like 2 hours. Then she'll be like, "Hey." So I know at that point I gotta end everything up and get back going. So
well, your alarm disappeared. He must have went back inside.
Yeah, he went inside.
He gave up.
Look at here. Watch this.
Boy.
Let's see what happens here. I got a magical guest popping in.
Oh boy.
Come on. Hey!
You see?
What do you know?
I've heard of this guy. I know who he is.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, David? So, guys, quick, brief recap.
Talking about the Eagles, huh?
Yes.
Now we need is Annie, and then we got 2-on-2.
Oh no! Don't bring her in here because
I'm going to have to come down there with some donuts. We'll have to sit back, have some coffee.
I'm down. Bring the coffee and donuts. I'm in.
Yeah. So if I bring Annie in here, things will change because she's kind of like she's a bully sometimes.
That's okay. Annie's a trip. She cracks me up.
She is. Oh, come on, Rod. The link doesn't work.
The link's not working. We broke StreamYard.
No, it should work. David got on here. I sent you another link. Try it again. If not, I think I have her email. Yeah, I'm going to email it to you right now. So here it goes. Live television. Live
streaming 101.
Live streaming 101.
David, you still there, or did you glitch out, David? You look frozen.
No, I think he's still there.
Oh, no, he's just the next Eagles quarterback. Frozen in the pocket, waiting to get sacked.
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's brutal.
Too many beautiful bald men.
I'm telling you.
Well, here's a wonderful part.
Oh, you want to be online too?
Yeah, I think I may have to
Yep, that's me.
back my tablet instead.
Yeah, you might have to.
Yeah, you're glitching a little, David.
That's okay.
I mean, typical Phillies offense fashion, but still. Telling you, I'm gonna get like.
Hey guys, I'm going to leave and I'm going to come back on a different.
Okay.
I'm going to come back in because I'm freezing up here.
Emailed it to you.
It's not the offense that have been the issue. It's been the front. It's actually been the defense for the front line.
Oh boy, I don't know. Fletcher Cox might find us. There we go.
Oh.
Hey, what are you doing to my phone? Calm down with the phone here.
No, what that?
Just emailed you. Oh.
Yeah.
Aw.
So maybe she can see it.
Where's Shulman? Shulman left already?
Yeah, I think Shulman left.
There's a drive-by.
Well, he hopped on early, so I think he had to moose.
Where am I going?
You know, it's pretty awesome though. If I can keep retainers like 2 hours, that'll push my YouTube numbers up. That's a plus.
Okay, my phone is like freaking out over here. Okay, I get it. Give me a second.
Now, all I really got to do now, is figure out how to do TikTok, and I'll be good.
Just comment on everybody else's stuff.
Oh yeah, guys! Just before I forget, let me give a quick shout out to tomorrow evening's guest, Chinudu. And if you don't know, the guy is a master penman, man. He is. I was reading some of his stuff.
He can write.
He can write, bro. I'm a writer, and I'm impressed. So he'll be on tomorrow evening at 7:00, guys. So if you get the chance, check out tomorrow with me and Chinudu. So it's going to be an awesome show. I really want to talk to him about some of the things that he's been creating over back in his country of Nigeria, and then some of the writing he's done, because it's pretty impressive. You know how he's created. First of all, his following on LinkedIn, that's pretty impressive to me. 40,000 followers on there, and then there's the man. Let's see if there's a.
All right, let's see if this works better. Better? Seems like
better. Cool. Oh, I tried. Come on, Roz.
He can fit all 6 of us in here, Roz.
Yeah.
There is no try, Roz. It's do or don't. Let's go. Come on. Put your gears in motion.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
She's got the gear stuff going on.
Yeah, but
so you know how serious I normally am.
and you know, go ahead, David. Go ahead, Dylan.
All right, so I'm actually going to talk on the subject that this
about
program
the Eagles
started off.
Oh, we don't want to talk about the Eagles.
No, not the Eagles.
Okay.
We're not going to discuss the Eagles. I mean, the Cowboys haven't won the playoffs since when?
Oh my
God. Giants? Are they still a team?
Giants have. Well, no, but they did have 2 Super Bowls against the infamous Tom Brady, if you've ever heard of him.
No, I never met Tom Brady before. I never heard of it. No, don't know anything.
No, okay.
5 Super Bowls?
6. 6.
I'm wearing the official Eagle shirt right now.
Five Super Bowls, I think, that they won.
No, he's got 6 of them. He won 6.
Oh, not Tom Brady. I'm talking about the Cowboys. I'm trying to remember. I think
the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it's 5 Super Bowls. So
not in this century.
Yeah.
So
not in this millennia.
Not
in this millennia either.
About
got news for you.
The issues happening now.
You know, that's again what we're.
I can't do it.
I can't either.
This is a bad combination.
Well, all I need is a Redskins fan, and then I'm in purgatory. So
seriously, all right. So listen, I'm going to drop out because this poop diaper has to get changed. I can't. Yeah. I can't even focus with it. I can't even focus with it anymore. This is rough.
Drop out and come back. I'm going to be with David for a bit.
All right. Well, go have fun. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Wait! Before you drop out. 1 second. I got a guest.
It's Roz.
It's Roz.
Hey.
She got her gears in gear.
She got her gears in gear. She got it to work.
Yeah, there was just a couple of steps there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Roz, you remember when we finally connected, and I said you've got to go live with Gabriel.
Yes,
so now
I
we
do.
kind of just bullied you into it,
I know.
and
you did.
now you'll never stop, because once you start, it's kind of like addicting.
Well, I think you're a motivator, right? That's what your cause is, anyways, too. So
I'm an
to
instigator. I
your
don't know about a
credit.
motivator. I don't know about a motivator.
Kind of the
No,
same.
no. I personally like the term as he is a disruptor
Yeah,
because he's
antagonizer.
disrupting what the current system is and changing it to where it should be.
Well, I think that's a hot topic word. I'm a disruptor.
Yeah, look out! Don't use that one.
Yeah, don't use that one. That's one of those. That's like a couple of weeks back when everybody was using pivot. I got to pivot something. So nothing wrong with the terms. I'm just saying I think it's overused.
It's just the insinuation thereof.
Yeah. So
what was the topic tonight? You guys, it sounded like you were talking
What
about
was-
the
what was the
protest, but I didn't.
I don't think we remember an hour and 15 minutes later.
Oh,
It was about our conversation Friday in systematic racism and the fact of we believe through open forum conversations with a diverse group of people. As you can tell, I'm going somewhere to hide from my kids because they're just getting louder and louder. So I'm going to go sit on the bunk beds because nobody uses them. We're good.
yeah, that's usually a good place.
So we
Mike,
were
I
talking
thought you
about
were going to
systematic
go change out a
racism.
diaper.
I'm
Look.
very interested in this topic right now. I have a lot to
Why
say.
did something
about it.
happen? Did something
No, it's
happen that is
just-
popular right now?
I'm really upset that
I'm getting attacked.
I'm
Hang on,
upset
hang on.
about-
Whoa,
hold on. I'm gonna mute
I'm
you,
under
Mike.
siege.
Hold
I'm
Are they giggling?
Okay. Yeah, they're
Oh,
beating
yeah.
him up. So
They're being
You know,
kids.
that's what we were just essentially talking about. Was we had a roundtable on Friday evening where we brought in a whole bunch of diverse perspectives from a whole bunch of different people talking about what had happened, and we started talking about systemic racism, and we also talking about ways to start open dialogue and look for ways to start healing and communicating and building some kind of understanding. Now, I don't want to say solve it or solutions because you're talking about something that's been happening for years and years into the past, but at least we can start at least looking at ways to communicate and build some kind of understanding between all of us. I mean, because we're all here, we all have a purpose to serve on this earth. We're all here again to live life. We're here to find our happiness, and that's part of what it is that we have with our freedoms in this country. And I think that for all of us to sit down and have these sort of talks that we're doing, like even right now, at least we're getting it out into the public, and hopefully people will do the same thing in their communities with their friends, with family, with people that they work with, just again to open the dialogue, because again there are people that are angry who aren't racist who want to say, that I stand up with the rest of the country about being very upset about what's been going on and then what we can do about it. And that's just where we were at, and we're continuing to push that agenda all the way through, as long, like you said, into perpetuity until people get sick of it. Because I don't get sick of it. It's just the same way I don't get sick of talking about being positive. So again, you'll probably get tired before I will listening instead of me talking, because I can keep talking about it. So tell us a little bit about it, Roz. I mean, what was
I just wonder when we stopped being United States of America. United we stand. I mean, I have a very diverse background. I can blend into a lot of places, and just looking at some of my ancestry, which would be there's some Irish. I mean, I'm really a mix, but we've all come from some kind of struggle. Our ancestors have all come from some kind of struggle in order to just get to America. And then we became the United States of America through those struggles. And so I actually think that the Black Lives Matter movement, a worthy cause. But I feel like that term in itself is actually a form of segregation. So it's like we have a group of people whose soapbox is, you know, to be equal, right? And not to be treated differently. And then holding up a sign that's pointing out somehow that there's a difference. Like, honestly, I know this cop was a racist, right? Because now I've learned more about him. But initially, when I watched the footage, what I literally saw was a bully. And I saw a man who, in my opinion, came off as though he felt very proud of himself for learning a karate move where he was able to hold a large man down with his knee. And just to point it out even further, you know, he the way his hands were gesturing, like, huh, don't even need no hands, mom, you know. And he had this very cocky bully mentality, and that's the way I saw it. And I initially didn't see it as a racial thing. I just saw it as a horrible cop who needed to be dismissed immediately. And that's what I initially saw. So when it turned into this race thing, I was just like, what is going on here? You know, why aren't we united? Aren't we united as Americans? You know?
All right. So what I learned on Friday, and I didn't think about before, right? Because by participating Friday, I learned a lot. And one thing that I learned is the reason that it's Black Lives Matter is because up until now they don't. And they're not overvaluing them versus anybody else, but they want to be up to equality. And this is about their rise to full equality. Because
I just don't see that at all. I don't believe that way. I don't believe that up until now they don't. I just don't see it that way, because I'm completely not a racist. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But hello, everybody. There are people who just don't see. I don't feel that way at all. How could you say their lives didn't matter until now? That's like ridiculous. I don't even know why a person would say that. We're human beings.
So, you know, there's a very interesting meme that a friend of mine posted, where they talked about Black Lives Matters versus All Lives Matters. Yes, it is said that all lives matter. Everyone knows lives matter. Okay, but where's the fire right now? You know, is it makes sense. You want to put out the fire where it is. Right now,
but then aren't you segregating a group of people by saying the fire is that isn't the fire really within humanity?
Fire is racism in general.
That was to do that to any human being, whatever color. That's just so irrelevant. It's the act that took place, which is so wrong to anybody, and that we somehow lose the real bite of the burger there if we don't realize, just if we start making it about, I don't know, it's terrible what that officer did. That's horrible. That should never have happened. I don't care what motivated him to do it. It's just wrong. And to not focus on that and what is wrong, and to drive the focus towards a different movement kind of dilutes it a little bit and takes away from it a little bit. Don't you think? I feel conned a little bit in turning this into some racial thing. I feel like we're not looking at what the hell is really going on. And what is really going on is, I mean, maybe some, by the way, I have complete respect for law enforcement, 100,000,000%, and our military. I'm an incredibly patriotic lady. And that is my thread. Mm-hmm. Number one, I'm an American, and I have so much pride in our country. And the people who are about this country. And,
Mhm.
that's what we have. So to turn this into some kind of a racial thing takes away from what it is. And, maybe at some point, officers need to be reevaluated, need to have an evaluation done and see how, I don't know if they're numb or something. Maybe something else needs to happen deeper within, because this doesn't just happen to Black
Yeah.
people, or it happens to everybody, this kind
Mhm.
of stuff.
Mhm.
Some police officers will exercise their rights as officers um, in a way they should not be doing, and that's what's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not a race thing. We are united. We are the only time. We're not going to become a country where racism does not exist until we, as the people, stop acting like there's a difference, because
Yeah.
there's not. And we are united Americans. And by segregating ourselves in this conversation,
Yeah.
what we're actually doing is pulling away at the threads of America and Americans. That's what we are.
Yeah.
And we are united, we stand.
And,
And when
and
we start pulling away at those fabrics, what we're really doing is poking America, and we're poking us as a country of people,
yeah. And I think I think that's the whole point of at least getting this dialogue open. I think even the fact that if it's Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. Here's the thing, right? We are humanity. We are one all solo race. We all have the same DNA. We all have everything that's created just about the same. It's our minds and certain things that make us and give us our uniqueness. Now, one of the things that I tell people, and again, if you've seen my shows, you know how open I am, how positive I am, how open and honest and genuine I try to be. I am one of those people who sees people as being just a person, right? Now, I love the fact that I can do that, but I think we have to start educating people how to reciprocate that, and I think that's what we need to go to. Here's the problem: I've been told because of how I look, I need to go back to my country, but that to me still brings. And again, I don't get angry about that. Because I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I've been here, how long I've been here, what I do. I know what my part is. I've had brothers, I've had uncles, I've had grandfathers that served in the United States Armies. Okay, I know what I am. But to hear that still in 2020 or 2019, it's still a shock to take to the system.
But don't you see that as just like bullying? I think that's the problem. There are bullies.
Well, I see.
I'm a woman who looks like a lot of different races, so
I see it as their insecurities. Yes, that's the way I see it. That's why
that makes us weak when we go, "Oh, you hurt my feelings because you
so,
said I should go do the." Come
well,
on.
it doesn't hurt
It's
my
a bully
feelings.
thing. We've got to be thicker skin than that.
No, I understand that, but the thing is, it's not acceptable for him. It's not acceptable forever to say that and not say something back.
Why engage? I don't even think it's, why would you engage with an idiot? Anybody that would say something like that first off has a self-esteem issue.
It is all on them. That's not, believe me, it's not on me in any way, shape, or form. I'm the guy that says I have to turn the tables and walk away. I do that. Right. I do that 9 times out of 10. Here's the thing. If I don't at least put this out there to teach, that's the same thing that my daughters are going to have to hear. That's the same thing that my son's going to have to hear. So I have to at least say we have to get that educating started, at least put it out there. Even if it is their insecurities, it's still a way, shape, or form to at least start bullying somebody and getting somebody in that face. So if somebody's not in the greatest top of mind, if everybody does not have the same mindset as like we're talking about now, that's going to affect them emotionally, physically, so many different ways. So again, it is, you have to at least say it's the reason they have a no zero bullying policy at school, and yet still there's still
Yeah.
things the kids say and everything else is that, but you have to at least broach the subject and get it out into the open. To ignore it is the same to me. To ignore it, I say I use history, and I'm saying not equating it to this, but I'm saying
The best
you have
teacher.
to use history to use to learn from, because again, people used to say this in Germany back in 1939, 38, and it was acceptable because why? Oh, let's not fight it. Let's do appeasement. Whatever that was, it was a genocide of a whole sect of people. And you have to at least broach the subject of saying, I will not accept that. Please, if you understand me, and I will say it in the most educated way possible, what you're doing is creating, you're creating strife, you're creating hate, you're creating a lot of things in this world. And if that's what you're about, and I get it, you have to have this in the world, or else how do you know what it's good in? I always believe in there's always a counter to it. If there's light, there's dark. If there's love, there's hate. If there's all these things in the world, the Bible has taught us that from the very beginning. It's always been there, but yet you still have to learn from it, and you still have to educate from it. That's the same thing Jesus did. And if you're able to do that, then I think that's where you start making progress. It's never been about, I mean, what they're saying now, I get it. It's the anger, it's the rage, it's all the stuff that they're going on right now, because people are just, they don't know how to deal with their emotions. That's a hard thing to understand. The same way with the bullying. It's a hard thing to understand. They don't know how to deal with their emotions. Now, you have people out there who are walking together, who are doing things peacefully. They're having open communication. They're sitting there hugging police officers. They're telling them we love you. We respect all the things that you have going on. This is the beautiful part of the country. The media is just going to show us of course, all the stuff that they want you to see that sells, that sizzles, and all the other stuff. There's so much going on and good in the world. We're doing it right now by at least having this conversation to try to build some kind of understanding between what it is that how you feel. Again, that's what we do. We have to find a way to at least get this, this subject into the universe, so that people can at least say, you know what, I don't agree with this, or I do agree with this, or I will learn from this, or I'll ignore it totally. But if you don't at least say something, then you're just as bad at fueling the problem. And I think that's all I'm trying to say is say something if you have something to say. Be educated about it if you believe in it, and share it again with the world. This is all I've said the whole time. And
my thoughts are, though, that there's this. My father used to say to me, the more you give somebody, the weaker you make them. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to use that thought in saying, if you have a kid that's handicapped, my son has medical problems, but I don't treat him like he's a handicapped person, no. Right? And guess what? He's got a full-time job and he works every day, and that kid could right now smickety smack go collect a disability check and live off the system for the rest of his life. But he doesn't, and he goes to work. He's never going to be 100%. But you know what? 96% sure isn't bad. And there are a lot of people out there that we can learn from who didn't swallow the woe is you pill and overcame their adversities, if you will, which are real. Like, I lost my arm, or I've lost my legs in war, or veterans who've gone through hell and back, and they're going back to college to get a career, right? So there are a lot of people in this world who just keep moving forward. You mentioned, my son is Jewish, half Jewish.
Yeah.
And when he was going through some 5 years of some really difficult times that even I didn't know how he was pulling it off, right? He would tell me how he would reflect upon the people in the concentration camps and what they went through, and it paled in comparison to what he was experiencing.
It is.
So he pulled from those things. And if you think that he didn't grow up with a lot of snarky fascism comments around him, right, his whole life, that would be bananas, right? Because he did. And did he let that penetrate him or cause him to feel somehow not equal? Hell no, he didn't. He did whatever. We see those types of people as just ignorant, right? So again, back to what I'm saying is, when we hold up a sign that's segregating ourselves, right, in the name of, I am against segregation and I want things to be united, like, the founders said, or whoever it was that made up the phrase United States of America, right? To which we are all united as one people and citizens, right? And that in itself, you're an American. You don't need you don't need an extra crutch. I don't need to give you more to make you weaker. I don't need to feed into this cause, which it is titled segregation. It really, right? When you say what if my son were to walk around going Jewish lives matter, or if I were to go Irish lives matter, then somehow I'm actually segregating myself from the rest of you. And so would he be. And that in itself is a form of segregation. And I think until we stop segregating ourselves and looking for extra credit, right? Or, at what point does it end? It will never end. Bullying has been going on since before Christ and after Christ, right? That's something that's never going to change. And we can all, the girl who has straight hair wants curly hair. The girl with curly hair wants straight hair. The heavy girl, the heavy set woman who's curvy is like, I wish I were so skinny. And the really skinny girl is like, I wish I was curvy. There's always going to be the want for the other thing. You can't have the cake and eat it too. Sometimes you can, but until the message is united we stand, right?
United we matter.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. I don't care if you're black or purple, man. It doesn't matter. Man, woman, gender not disclosed. I really don't care. It's about who you are as a human being, and that's it.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a bad human being, that's cool too. You have to be invited to my barbecue.
I think somebody, I wish I could remember who said this. They said, everybody deserves the right to be equally miserable. If that makes if that makes any sense,
you're only as happy as the one most unhappy person in your circle.
Yeah. So and again, what we're talking about, you're exactly right. Okay.
At what point will people begin? The people who are saying that they're being segregated. At what point do we declare victory? I mean, there's got to be a beginning and an end to every race, right? I mean, right? The auto races, the horse races, whatever terrain. There's a beginning and an end to the climb to Mount Everest. There's a point in which we declare victory. This will never, this war will never, ever, ever be won. Just like my son, all these years later, he still hears racial things about Jews. I still hear racial things about the Irish and the Italians and, all the things that I am, right? You hear it today too. It's never going to end. It's when we stop it and act like united citizens. That's when it stops.
My take on that is that we're not in a finite race. This is infinite. Okay. The difference being that a finite race has definite rules, has a definite beginning, has a definite end. And the only way to deal with anything of this nature is to, you know, consistently keep the conversation open. Because if you close a conversation at any point in time, you're not going to change anyone's mind. I had a conversation with somebody who was a Trump supporter, and I was just like, why? He told me why. I listened. I got it. I said it right back to him, say so that he understood I got it, and I told him why I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to turn this into political conversation, but it's having an open dialogue, creating that open conversation. If we don't maintain that, that's when the cancer grows.
And the
It's
beautiful
when
thing is that you live in America where you're allowed to have that conversation and that debate. And it's healthy to have those things.
yeah,
It is. You got to
when I
have
was,
you. Go ahead, David.
I mean, when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, I saw my mother drop a priest, for making racial slurs. Um, I've also been in the opposite position where I've had people want to fight me because I was white going to a school in a black neighborhood. So I've been on both ends of that spectrum. I under,
Right. Which is
But
why we're all you Americans. That's what the only way you're going to find where color doesn't matter is when we start to see ourselves as red, white, and blue.
mhm. But
That's when.
here's the
Because
thing.
you're right. It does go both ways. And I've
But
gone to schools too where the
but
demographics were 95% not me. Right.
but how much is this? So Ross, let me ask you, how much of this is taught? How much of this is taught from?
See, I don't see that. I think that cop would have done the same thing to any big guy.
Mhm,
I think that was a cop bullying a big guy. I think he felt really powerful. And
mhm.
I've met men like that as a woman,
Yeah.
where the man feels like they are very powerful and they've got you in a position of, where you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I recognized in that person as I watched him, and then the other officer, where the crowd was going, let him go and all this stuff. And the other officer was being very snarky. It was like their little gang. Haven't we all gone to school where there was a certain group of kids who didn't want to let you in their group? Haven't we all experienced that on some level where, you
yeah,
were in the popular group or you were in the popular group and you saw the one kid everybody was dissing, right?
Mhm.
They were part of a group at that moment, and that group, they were sticking together, and I understand why officers stick together. I get that too. Same reason doctors do it, same reason nurses do it. There are a lot of groups. Same reason my people in my industry, we stick together too. Machinists, manufacturing industry, we're a tribe of people. We all are part of industries where we, if we've been at it at any length of time, you identify with it. And, if whatever your trade is, if you're a meat cutter guy and you meet a young apprentice, you're going to take the kid under your wing and you're going to care about him. So, we all have our favorites, right? And we've all seen that. I mean, that's just life. So to identify it specifically as a entirely racially driven thing that took place, I think takes away from the reality of what actually took place, which
Mhm.
was a cop that probably should have been pulled off the force a while ago, right?
Mhm.
Because I think there were enough red flags,
Mhm.
So I think the system needs to change in that way. And I think that's what we need to be focusing on, because we're not going to be focusing on the actual root cause. It's going to continue to happen. And that's the problem that I have with making this a race thing, because it's not a race thing. It's a, I don't know. There's some times when people have just been at their job for too long, and they need to be maybe put in the office for a little bit, change of atmosphere. I don't know, put them out in forestry, ranger, make them a ranger. I don't know. But I think that you can't have somebody working the streets, perhaps. Just a thought. Maybe it's 20 years working a really bad area is going to have some effect on you. If you were a soldier and you were in a horrible war for 20 years straight, it's going to have an effect on you. My son was really, really ill for 5 years. That had an effect on him. He's better now, but it had some effect on him. And the things that we do in our lives, the battles that we face and endure, they have an effect on us, And so I think that it's pretty ridiculous to assume that somebody on the streets, as a police officer or a sheriff, right, monitoring the streets, dealing with whatever they deal with on a daily basis, I think it's ludicrous to think that's not going to affect them after 20 years has passed. And they'll be jaded, I think a little bit. And so I think something needs to be done or said about that. I think they're jaded. And I don't think it's necessarily a race thing. I realize this cop is has racial tones that are, had some of that to his character. But I don't know. How do you think he treated women? How do you think he treated Jews? How do you think he treated, there's probably so many groups of, how do you think he treated young people? Do you think he was respectful to that 16-year-old, doing something wrong? Probably not. He probably didn't respect anybody or many people. He probably didn't respect a lot of people, is my guess.
Yeah, probably.
And he felt very entitled. And so when you put somebody in an entitled role for too long of a period of time, it won't be long before they start to act like kings and queens in their role.
Yeah.
And do we really want kings and queens with being given that much responsibility, a gun, a badge, the right to, do whatever they want,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly,
know.
right.
I don't think that's a good idea.
You know what they say about absolute power, right?
Correct.
There
Absolutely.
And our country is not, the United States of America, we are not racist people here. I'm sorry, there may be salt and peppered of this and that, but there are on each side of the fence. So with that said, the majority of Americans, we are not racist people. And and to my point, look at the diversity in the marches. It was diverse to everybody. All the colors of the rainbow were out there. So that proves that, we're not racist people. Americans are not like that. At least, not in my world,
Yeah.
So why don't we stop making it a racial thing, and start dealing with the seed in the ground that's growing a plant, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we get the weed out of the ground and deal with what the real problem is? And it very well might be PTSD, or something of that nature. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I'm not pretending to, think I can, make a diagnosis, but I do have common sense, and I do work in a very analytical environment where I have to really kind of look at things and figure out what's wrong with it. Right. So with that said, I think the problem is, the guy was probably on the force for too long, and he needed some help, psychological help. That man was screwed up in the head.
And I think that's one of the things that we've talked about, though, is that these are the kind of things that need to be instilled in these sort of situations, especially with dealing with law enforcement at the local level. I mean, the problem that I've seen on and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, was the fact that a lot of the funding and a lot of the budgets that they do for a lot of these police programs just get rubber stamped. They really don't do a lot of oversight on what's being spent. So part of that goes into the fact that they spend money doing a lot of the tactical work, all the stuff that they did. Again, and I get it, you got to save your life. You try to do that sort of thing, but again, everything, especially in that job, it starts all up here. It all starts up here in how you're able to control this. How are you able? That's why I said you have to have some kind of behavior or emotional counseling, these sort of things for a lot of these officers, because again,
the money's there. The state's getting sued right and left. My state, California alone. I mean, there are attorneys in California that purely for a living, they will only take cases against law enforcement. That's all they do for a living. And I know them personally, and they make very good money. So trust and believe the money's there. It's just not being spent in the right way.
In the right ways, because
we have poor monetary management of our tax dollars, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of these city managers, right? They don't really go through and really quantify how much is being spent here, being spent there. They leave it to the advisory boards and subcommittees and all these other things to kind of roll and figure these things out. And then all they have to do is sign it and say, okay, here it is, budget's approved, right? So you really don't get to see this at that level to go, okay. And again, people are trying to preach to get it done at the higher level. That's not how it works. And they'll even tell you in Congress, all this stuff here, all that stuff's taken at the local level, at the state and local level. We're not in here to do that. We're just.
And the lower courts are so pompous with what they're doing in the lower courts, right? There's a court in California whose conviction rate is 98%. That is atrocious. You want to know why it's 98%? Because just about everybody pleads, right? And they just go, all right, I didn't really do it, but I might do a year in jail if I get found guilty. So I guess I better plead. I'll be guilty. So there's something very wrong.
So on that front, I know I have a lot of friends that have been through the system, and 9 times out of 10, they're just like, they'll tell me, they're like, my lawyer's telling me to take the plea. They keep telling me to take the plea. I know I didn't do it, but I got told to take the plea. I have a friend of mine who she took the plea, and now she is having so much hardship trying to find a permanent job and just trying to get her life together. There's so many different levels of right, wrong, and difference. It doesn't matter whether you're talking police, lawyers, courts. There's good, there's the bad, there's the ugly.
Yep. So and it's very pompous to the citizens. I know somebody right now who was caught brandishing a weapon. I actually wrote an article and posted it on LinkedIn. They brandished a firearm in defense of their lives. They were being chased by somebody in a gang. And this person was not physically able to defend themselves in any way. And they happened to be in somebody else's car. And this guy was a scary gangbanger guy. And when the guy, after chasing this person for, I don't know, like 10 minutes worth of a car chase, that's a long time. You go get in your car and drive at like speeds between 40 and 60 miles an hour for the next 10 minutes. Okay. And then just imagine the whole time you're afraid. So when the gangbanger finally managed to block this person's vehicle and get out of their car and approach the kid to kick their butt, right? And this is another bully thing, by the way, because the kid didn't engage. The guy in the other car was like, "Oh yeah, he's afraid of me. This is cool. And that only encouraged him more. Long story short, the kid did manage to get away. This was, by the way, the second time he was chased home by this person he really does not know. And if he got home the second time, he had brandished the top slide of a firearm that was in this vehicle. The vehicle didn't belong to him, but it was there in the car. The guy's approaching your car window. What are you going to do? You're blocked in. What would you do? Would you not try and cheat, make it look like you have a gun and try and scare him away? I would. Anyways, when the kid came home, he called police and told them, I'm really scared. This guy chased me, blah, blah, blah. Cops came out, took the kid to jail. The kid who was afraid and running for his life. The kid who was afraid and running for his life ended up doing 3 months in jail, lost his gun rights, and is 3 months probation. Never in trouble one day of his life. But this is what ended up happening. The other guy testified in court that because the kid took it to trial, right? Stupid. Should have cut the plea. In court on testimony, the guy, the gangbanger, stated that he was in fact pursuing the kid and had done it twice. When asked, why did you get out of your car and approach him? He said, I was feeling cocky. So that guy who said I was feeling cocky, who clearly was bullying somebody half his size, half his age, ended up getting no trouble. Nothing happened to him. By the way, he was also driving. He had a criminal record. He had current reckless driving charges against him. Anyways, nothing happened to him. And the other kid went to jail.
Oh, wow.
And that nothing, and nobody cared. Not one person. NRA didn't care. NRA said that's happening so much in California. We're barely able to help you guys get your gun rights out there. So there was no help. There was nothing, Yeah. In fact, the kid's attorney told him, if you give me extra money, I will pay the Mexican mafia to get you protection when you're in jail. I couldn't even believe I was hearing these things.
Yeah.
I didn't even believe it. I actually didn't believe it. Then I asked a sheriff friend of mine, and he said, yeah, that's true. You can do that. Yep. Bananas. That's what's going on. That's the real. And, that's what's happening. It's an entitled courtroom, an entitled prosecutor who wasn't listening. She's supposed to be there representing we the people. Was she representing we the people when she was pursuing that young man because he had a gun in California? No, she wasn't. No. So that's what's going on. And people are trying to rise to power, make names for themselves, get high conviction rates. And that's a problem. And it's not just happening to people of color or not color. It's happening. And that's bad.
And it goes to a lot of, I don't know, but I had a judge on Saturday, a judge from Gwinnett County in Georgia, and the way that she approaches it, I like her approach a lot better. She's not worried about the conviction rate. She's really actually about trying to help the person in front of her. And again, if there is a punishment for the crime, then yes, that has to be doled out. This is, again, there is 100%. A system to it. But again, it's not the main priority is to get the conviction rate. It's about trying to help that person get out of the system. And I think that's what we need is more people in leadership like that.
But so right now, Gabriel, we got that's an exception. Having a judge like that,
it is. It is.
Absolutely.
Because it's our court, not our court system, but our prison system,
judicial system.
That's why they're targeting her. She's up for re-election. They're targeting her to try to get her out because they don't want reform. They just want to make
their money. That's why we have the highest.
They don't want that. That's why I was like, okay, whenever I went and looked at like a lot of her background and a lot of the things that she's done and a lot of her what she's created, I was like, I totally agree with her. And when she wanted to come on the show, I said, no problem. I want to talk about what we want, what we can do, because again, she is actually in a position of power to create impact. And that's all I'm trying to get for a lot of people to understand is everybody has the opportunity to do that. Go sign up to run for your local race in your communities. That's where it all starts. Go get on the school council. Go see how that starts. If you want to change the education system, if you want to change the government, the local government system, go run for a council seat.
I want to run for treasurer, because I'll tell you what, with all the money that one courtroom is pulling, right? Just with tickets and fines and, all of these shenanigans. And I looked at what each prosecutor and district attorney makes for a living, how much they make. And I did the math, and it was just like, wow, they're just in abundance of cash.
Yeah. So
going through this system that's definitely not being utilized in any way that I can see to help the community, and the jails, which are overcrowded, right? We know it doesn't work, right? We know it just makes it just makes people criminals.
Yeah. That's what she said.
We know that already.
That's what she's saying. So she goes, why am I going to send him? I'm essentially sending him to a school to learn to become a better criminal. Why do I want to do that? If
I meditate in my industry,
and have them actually be better people. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just everybody becoming a better version of themselves. How do you create that? Part of it is, look at actually probably taking the privatized systems and just trying to make them more public. And at the same time, working to cut through all the red tape and bureaucracy that there is in our current government.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a politician. Sure. I'm not looking to be a politician. I'm a chef who's working on a nonprofit. You know what I mean?
But this is what I love about it. So again, guys, this is why I say.
Well, as a chef working in a nonprofit, I just want to say, there's probably a lot of grant money out there that you might want to consider to work with young people, right? I mean, I'll bet you that's out there. There's probably some grant money out there.
So I've actually had a conversation with a couple of friends of mine who do grant writing and whatnot. A lot of that money has been dried up because of one, things happening with COVID-19 in the nonprofit sector. Two, a lot of things are trying to be pushed more to be for profit. So, there are nonprofits out there that are losing funding. There are some that are finding their personal funding. Yeah. So I'm looking more to create this using personal funding, trying to find a couple of angel investors, people who are interested in what I'm doing. What I'm doing is an educational nonprofit for people who are on dialysis. I'm a kidney recipient. Spent 4.5 years on dialysis. So, there's a problem with education. What's that?
Did you get the kidney?
Yeah, 8 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
My son's father passed away to juvenile diabetes. And he was on kidney dialysis. He was only 48 years old. So he was a brittle diabetic.
Yeah. So when I was 32.
Dialysis stuff. It's tough.
Yeah. Oh, I know. All three of us have experienced it, I guess, at some point. I mean, when I had David on my show, that's what we talked about. My father spent the last 10 years of his life on dialysis. To see him go through
that's a long time.
Yeah, it is. To go from where he started and to where the point he said, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yep.
To, essentially say that because of his condition, he couldn't get a transplant. He said, you know what? I can't. I've done it too long, and I don't want to go through it anymore. And it stopped. And at that point, he made the conscious decision to say, hey, I know I'm ready to go. So that's tough. But again,
You know,
here we are.
just
Here,
being through that, I mean, even me with my blood type, for my blood type, I had a 10 to 15 year wait. And I
Yeah.
got mine in 4.5 years because I took
Wow.
care of myself, didn't smoke, this, that, and the other thing. You know,
Yeah.
they take all those factors in.
Yeah.
But it,
So
just like everything else, it's all privatized.
yeah,
Money is being
There's
made
a lot of
off of
people
that.
out there though that want to support those types of I mean, it affects a lot of people.
it
So
does.
if you have something that's truly beneficial
And
to
again,
contribute to that group of people, you'll find that support.
coming on shows like this, David, and telling people to get them out there more often, it gives a little bit of exposure, and that's all I try to do. If I'm able to help, then I'm all for that, and that's what my show's been about. It's just trying to get the positive aspect of life for so many people out into the world. Even now, the discussions that we're having, these are what's important, and this is what I'm saying. That it's simply just open dialogue. Please start. I mean, even if it is about what you think it is, if it's Black Matters, All Matters, United We Matter, we at least have to open our mouths and start saying, let's talk about these subjects. Because number one, if we're quiet, if we don't say anything, we're just as much as part of the problem. We are
So,
just as much a part of the problem if we don't at least open our mouths and use whatever form you have. Everybody has the same forms that I have. Anybody and everybody has a phone. You can get on Facebook Live. You can get on Instagram Live. You can get on, the only one you can't is LinkedIn, but Twitter, all these forums you can get on. Anybody and everybody can get on them. Why is mine a little bit more powerful? Because I'm actually passionate about it.
But we're living in such sensitive times that you could really hurt yourself if by like me. I'm saying, hey, guess what, everybody? It's not a black thing. It's all of us thing.
Roz, I could
get speared for it.
Roz, I could. But here's the thing. I have to take that risk.
Yeah,
I have to take that risk because I feel the calling to. It's not for everybody, but I'm saying if you have the need and you want, you don't have to do all the fancy stuff. Just hop on your phone and start talking. I have to take this risk because here tells me to start doing it. And if that's what drives me every single day to do this 5 nights a week, sometimes now 6 times a week, because I have to make it matter.
Live it, eat it, breathe it. That's my motto.
It is, and that's what I'm trying to do every day. That's it. So
and I promise, Gabriel, I won't hold you being a Dallas fan over your head.
Are you? I'm curious, David. Right? Are you writing a book? Is it a cooking show? What?
So I'm actually doing Facebook Live once a week. It's called Cooking Without Kidneys. I have a WordPress blog I'm doing. I'm on Twitter about it. I'm currently in the process of trademarking with my lawyer. He's taking care of that. He's writing the bylaws. I'm putting together the board, and I'm going to make it a national movement of chef competitions and demonstrations across the U.S. of how to cook, how to eat while you're on the machine, because about 70 to 80% of people who are on dialysis actually die because of what they eat, from heart failure and whatnot.
Right.
And there's just so many ways around it. It's like
also, some people go through, and this is common for some people. Sometimes when you go on dialysis initially, it'll give you sort of the effects of anorexia. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but some patients do experience just complete zero, like it does something to your head and you just cannot eat. And that I actually know of that for sure. Is also a side effect for some people.
So I'm one. So like I said, I've told a lot of people I'm an exception when it came to being on dialysis. A lot of people had swelling in their legs. I had fluid around my heart. A lot of people have had, like you said, anorexia. I ate regular. A lot of people lose their appetite. It's actually because of the amount of hormones and everything else that are being pulled out of your blood that your body just can't keep up.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. That's good information.
It's kind of like, if you look at my page, I'm doing high protein diets.
Is that okay for the kidneys though? The high
your
protein.
kidneys are no longer functioning. It doesn't matter at that point. If you're on
Okay.
dialysis, your kidneys don't work. You got less than 10% functionality.
Well, like I know you have to stay away from the potassium.
Oh yeah, almost killed myself twice.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
so-
he did a potassium overload.
So yeah, so that's why I'm saying there's, like, oh, the kidneys aren't working, so whatever, have a burger. I'm not sure, and that's why I'm asking: is protein an okay thing to indulge in? Is it like a potassium thing though? Can it have another? Can it be a bad thing?
So three things you have to watch out for when you're on dialysis: potassium, sodium, phosphorus. Okay. For me, my biggest issue was potassium. I wasn't diabetic, so I didn't have to worry about water retention with sodium or whatnot, although water retention is a big thing. You're on a fluid restriction, no
Yeah.
more than 1.5 to 2 liters at most a day. That's it. Because your body retains it. I was smart about it. I worked in kitchens and I worked out. And I didn't smoke.
What about water pills? Are those bad? Really?
So if you're prior to dialysis, anything that puts extra strain on your kidneys, I didn't realize this was going to turn into this conversation. Anything that puts any extra strain on your kidneys, is bad, especially if you're first stage, second stage, third stage, or fourth stage. Fifth stage is 3.5 parts per million creatinine in your urine.
Right.
Yeah.
You should have no more between 0.5 and 1.
So do you cover people in stage 2 and stage 3? Do you cover those topics as well, or is it just for people on dialysis?
No, I'm doing just for people who are on dialysis. To really get into stage, if you're early stage, if you're not at that point where you need dialysis yet, the best thing that I tell people you could do, like for me, I went completely pescatarian. And then started to work at this one restaurant 120 hours a week and kind of went right off that wagon. And it was about a year or two after that I ended up on dialysis.
Why pescatarian diet? Why that?
Because the protein, when you have kidney damage, protein filters out through your urine.
Right.
Okay. The walls of your kidneys doesn't prevent that anymore. That filter doesn't prevent you from losing the protein. So when you're doing a lot of heavy red meats, beef, lamb, chicken's okay, but I always say pescatarian, just because it's a much easier protein for your body to digest. Okay, you could do, even prior to being on dialysis, if you decide to go vegan, you could go for it, because people who are vegan go on dialysis. There's no animal protein.
Yeah.
I think you need to expand on your demographics, and you need to include those who are likely going to be on dialysis at some point, and maybe do one day for stage 2 and 3 kidney failure folks. Because
the crazy part is, but nobody knows. It's asymptomatic, so you don't know if you're going to have that. No, kidney failure is completely asymptomatic. I've gone through it. Okay?
Well, then that's why you should be talking to a bigger audience and expand upon that, because that knowledge that you have maybe could have,
it's pretty extensive, right?
It could have prevented you from maybe needing to be on dialysis. So why wouldn't you want to? Why are you being stingy with that information? Don't you want to let everybody?
Yeah, David.
You have information other people don't have, and certainly doctors are definitely not sharing, right?
Yeah.
So what you end up with, it comes down to a lot of different things. But the reason I'm focusing on the group that I'm focusing on right now is to, one, get it off the ground, and two, because that's the group that's that's really in trouble right now when you go on a
Yeah.
machine. I've seen people come in one day, a week later they're missing a foot, a week after that they're missing a
Yeah.
leg, and a week after that they're never coming back.
Right.
You know,
That was
I
my
have
son's
heard
dad.
I've heard techs talking to, patients, telling them that they're looking at them going, we can only pull 7 kilos of fluid off of you. You are at 21 kilos over your dry weight. You're going to cause yourself heart failure right then and there. When you're on the machine, it's not, it's once you're there,
It
it
sucks.
doesn't, it sucks. And my goal is to make it better for those who are there.
And it's scary.
Yeah,
When you're on the machine,
it is.
it's scary. And you
Yeah, my
are
wife sat with me. My wife
there's
sat
a
with
lot
me
of
when I
fear.
was in the hospital for the first couple weeks, for the 2 or 3 weeks I was in the hospital before starting dialysis. And I was one of the lucky ones because I had someone who actually, I was with someone prior who was like, I want you to get blood work. Never got it before. Never liked needles. When you got
Wow.
blood work, turned out I had kidney failure.
My God.
Wow.
What were you what stage were you at asymptomatic
I,
guy
I
when
found,
you
I found,
found
I was
out?
already, I was already fifth stage. I was already in
Gee.
full, yeah,
Wow.
out, but remember, fifth stage starts at 3.5
Yeah.
parts per million
Well,
of
that's not what
creatinine.
doctors say. When your creatine levels are, kind of out there, they don't, doctors are not, I'm not really big on the establishment, the medical, world. My father,
It
my
really
father had
depends on the
cancer for
doctor,
the
though.
second time. Not one conversation about diet took place, right? Not one. And, I
But
don't know how many people
you
really know
can't.
this, but I'm going to let everybody know sugar is the very thing cancer likes to eat.
So,
So if you
so
want to
here's
feed your little baby cancer cells so that they can grow up and be big children someday or big adults and take over the world, your physical world, eat lots of sugar and they love it and they'll grow healthy.
so here's what I have to say about doctors talking to you about diet. They have to have so much knowledge for everything else. To add one more thing, hey,
Like the
my
basics,
knowledge, my
nutrition.
knowledge of food, but my knowledge of food started when I was a kid. Okay, I went to culinary school and expanded on it. You know, there is a learned way to eat. Okay, we
True.
all learn a way to eat from the time
True.
we're born to the time we die.
Die.
It's a
Yes.
specific way. I have
Yeah.
friends that won't eat chicken at all,
Yeah.
won't go near it. I know
Right.
people who won't eat certain things because that's what they were called, and I got friends that don't eat pork. My wife's allergic to pork.
Yeah.
You know, it's culturally learned.
Right.
Doctors, and because food is culturally learned, because it's that thing that you're in conversation with your family, to have a doctor look at you, go, well, you have to change your diet. Because I've had doctors tell me that when I was
Then
250
you had some
pounds and
good
smoking two
doctors.
packs a day.
You had
And I
some good
looked at him,
doctors.
I was like, would love to, not happening, because it comes down to your own personal decision. A doctor could, if so, that's why you have nutritionists. That's why there are dietitians. That's why, you know, those people are there for people to work with. If you are serious about taking care of your health, if you're diabetic and want to get your sugars under control, if you're overweight and want to lose weight, there are dietitians out there to talk to that will help you to get to those points.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
talk your your doctor is there to actually treat the the symptoms and the problem. They'll look at you and say you need to change how you eat, but they're not going to sit there and work on a diet plan with you.
Right. I don't know. I just think something's wrong. Like if I was a mechanic
Now,
and somebody pulled
now
into
I
my shop and they were putting diesel fuel in their car and asking me why it wasn't running right, I don't think that I would neglect to tell them they shouldn't be using diesel in the vehicle because they're probably screwing it up. I wouldn't go right into doing a carburetor rebuild or whatever you would have to do, a new engine, and then send them on their merry way to keep putting diesel fuel in their car. You know, I would
Arcot,
try to inform them.
Arcot, hit me up later. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Friend me on LinkedIn. We'll talk.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
Because I can help you. I went from 250. Look, I went from 250 pounds down to 165 at my best.
yeah.
Okay, and I did that one by stopping eating past 7:30 at night. I stopped eating prior to 8. Prior to 7:30, 8 o'clock. I would have a huge carb-loaded breakfast and a no-carb dinner. Okay, my proteins consisted of in the mornings eggs. I would do sausage. I would have heavy proteins in the morning. My protein at dinner time would consist of fish or chicken. I stayed away from protein. I stayed away from red meats. I stayed away from lamb. I stayed away from pork at night. And I stayed away from carbs. I wasn't doing carbs at night, and I dropped weight. But it started with small steps. It started with I stopped eating my midnight meal at the diner when I got off of work.
Well, and you probably stopped drinking dark colored soda too. I think that's probably something.
I never drank soda.
Oh, okay.
I drink soda very occasionally, and I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I don't drink soda
neither am I.
The people out there that do like soda and they're having some challenges with their kidneys, I'm here to tell you, you should not be drinking dark colored soda. That's a thing.
So here's the funny part: when I had gotten my kidney, my phosphorus kept dropping down way too low. So they're like, you should at least have a Coke a day, because the phosphoric acid that's in a can of Coke will actually help to bring those numbers back up. I just looked at them, I was like, can I take the pills? But actually, there's more phosphorus in brisk iced tea than there is in Coke.
Wow.
So I went that route instead. I'd rather have the sugar water than Coke, which a friend of mine who's military told us a story where they were talking about spills and how an entire swamp was destroyed and was killed there because of what spilled in it. And it's something that people put in their bodies every day.
Coke?
Yes, Coke syrup.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Gabriel,
guys,
I want you guys. I love chatting with you guys.
Hey, so am I. And it's just been
what happened to the guy that made me come on?
Mike took off. So here we go, guys. Oh, thank you so much, everybody who's been following along. I've loved the conversation. Did not imagine that it would go out to almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But I appreciate you, Roz, everything that you have to say. Thank you so much for coming on. I've been waiting for this moment. David, thank you so much again for following the show, being on here. Guys, I love you guys so much. Thank you, everybody who's been watching as well.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Yeah, you guys make this worthwhile every single night, and I will continue to do it as long as these kind of conversations get out in the world. So again, thank you guys.
Gabriel.
That's it, baby. Thank you guys so much again,
Bye.
and I will see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, guys. I'll be back with Chinudu Juniore, and we will be talking about his journey as well. So good night, David. I'll talk to you tomorrow, guy. Thank you so much again for coming on,
have a good one. Bye.
All right, bye. Bye, everybody.